fraud cannot take place in our voting. And I have a petition here if anybody wants to catch me afterwards to sign this thing. Anyway, what it does is it requires partial social security number for voter registration, requires photo ID for in-person voters, requires driver's license, state ID, partial social security number, or photo ID on absentee ballot applications, requires voters who don't provide this ID to present ID in person within 6 days after the election to have their vote counted, provides state-funded IDs to applicants with hardships, specifies minimum times clerks must accept absentee ballots for in-person or drop box delivery, prohibits officials from making absentee ballot applications available except upon voter request. That means they cannot send out millions of ballots randomly to addresses that they have in their voter ID database, which they did last time. Millions of ballots went out unrequested all over the state that were harvested, and then anything can happen to those things. Dead people were voting and whatever. So anyway, it will also prohibit donations to fund elections, like the Zuckerberg bucks that went on last time. This is a citizen's petition. It will override any veto that the governor may put down. It's already been passed by the State House and Senate, and it will go into a law. And we have till the end of June until really to get these petitions in. And it's we have 500 and some thousand petitions, and we need probably 50,000 more just to get us over, to make sure that they're not going to, that we have enough of them that will not be thrown out for, administrative reasons. So anyway, if anybody wants to catch me afterwards to sign this petition.
Thanks, Charlie. Any other public comments concerning anything else? Yes.
Jessica Quaco, Cato Township. I would like to apologize. I came off very harsh when I first made my initial comment. This planning commission has been one of the only, I think probably the only, that has thoroughly gone through the previous wind ordinance and has been listening to the citizens. I came here angry today, so I would just like to state that. I've been up with a new 6-month-old all night, so I am just angry. Right now, I am angry, and I apologize. I wasn't trying to let that come off on you guys. I would also like to remind you guys that the global pandemic that we've been experiencing the past 2.5 years has only been a godsend to Apex. They have been able to go door to door and take advantage of some of our most vulnerable individuals in our community. It should be, I don't understand how they are going about with a clear conscience doing this. Getting people that are terminally, they know that they're dying within the next 6 months. They were given that terminal diagnosis, getting them to sign on hundreds of acres when they know that they're
just a minute, no. This isn't on wind, this is just public comment.
Yeah, this is just public comment.
Okay.
Yep. So needless to say, the fact that they've been going door to door during a global pandemic, when many of us have been told that you can't go see grandma at the nursing home, you can't go to the dentist, you can't do any of your standard what you need to do because you're gonna kill somebody. They have continued to go about their business and secure their leases. They should be ashamed. That's it.
Public comments? Okay, with that, then I'll close the public comment section of our commission meeting. Dave? What do you got?
Okay, for the month of May, we had 3 permits. One was at 11501 Maple Drive, that's replaced and enlarged a deck that's there. The next one was 6666 Berkshire Drive. They added a 10 by 30 3-seasons room to their home. And then there was a pole barn at 11782 Elm Street. And that's about it. Yeah. The 2 of them.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dave? By chance, did you talk with Leon Thompson?
Did I?
Yeah.
Probably. must have slipped my mind, what was I
Okay.
supposed to?
Well, we talked about, he was here last time and talked a little bit about, his goals and aspirations for the VFW. And I know as a commission, we looked at a couple different forms. And I didn't know if you made contact with him about those.
No, I didn't.
He hasn't applied for a special use.
No, he
permit or
hasn't applied
anything
for
yet.
anything.
Because we told him we touched base with him based on some forms that, so.
Okay,
You can
so
just reach back out with him.
your determination was to, what did we come to on that?
I don't think we came to a decision. Good, did we?
He's gotta submit the paperwork.
Yeah.
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 I know you can't do a use variance, all they could do is get a rezone it, yeah.
What we're talking about was probably not appropriate.
Yeah, and that's about the only option he would have.
Special use coupled with a text amendment to add that as a special use in that district.
Yeah, so you guys would have to do that before he could even pursue that, and that would take some time to,
Probably makes sense.
yeah.
I think there's a request form that you gave us for that, yes. We're gonna try to get those on the website for him to, if he wants to pursue that, go that route.
So just so he knows, I guess, as far as his
No,
options.
something's, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Okay. Dave, what you got for us? Couple weeks, right?
Yeah, they got theirs pushed.
Which moves us back on to the old business, so we'll go back to, the wind ordinance. So tonight we had our public comments. And we as a commission need to make a decision on what our next step is. We heard some comments tonight, some for some changes, some not for any changes. I thought it was a pretty good ordinance. And if we want to look at any of those areas of concern, I guess, now would be that opportunity, I think, right?
Yep, any concerns, or if there was anything that you noticed that I
Typos or-
forgot to add from our last meeting, I redlined it. And any other substantive changes that the commission wants to discuss or consider before we vote on making a recommendation to the board.
So we can still tweak things if
Yep.
we.
Sure.
Now's the time
And
to do
now's
that, right?
kind of the last minute.
Yep.
I really, I just had a tiny tweak, and then on the, water setback, I thought we were gonna add as measured
What
from,
section's that? I'm
um,
sorry. What page or
yeah,
enlarge?
I-
Page 11, in the version I circulated.
yeah. My only thing that I noticed was I thought we were gonna say as measured from the ordinary high water mark on that.
Okay.
We talked about, that was
Yeah, so.
the only thing, just to clarify thing.
Yep.
And then just a tiny typo on page 7. 7C, the last sentence, shall be the same as those setbacks set forth for the, should just be the LWET. That's,
Yep.
I think I had one more and that was it for me. Page 2, letter E. Second sentence, in the case of a small structure mounted. That was all I had.
Anyone else? tonight, public comments, we heard people talk about height. We're good with height where we're at, yes, no?
I'm gonna say let it ride as it is, because I think we'll be dealing with this again. I don't think we can solve all this in one sitting there. There's a lot of, between the sound, there's some stuff I don't agree with, there's some stuff in that email I don't agree with also. With the setbacks, the heights, there are some issues with, like say, the wetlands and our bodies of water. That was my idea on that, but we might have to look at that stuff again on definitions. I don't know who's had access to what I've read, emails.
But that's,
Are you talking from Apex?
Yes,
Well, we just got that.
just
like,
got it, just now.
An hour and a half before the meeting,
Okay.
so that's
All
all.
right, there's a lot of information in that.
Yep.
Like I said, I don't agree with it all, don't get me wrong.
I mean, they sent it to, they sent him to some of the township people, correct, Dave? But the email address that they had for me wasn't correct, so
Okay.
I didn't get it
Okay.
until,
Well, I just
I
got
think
it.
it was just sent yesterday,
yeah,
where that email was.
so.
Pretty soon, and I, again, kind of agree with what Joe's saying, I don't agree with what you said, it's obviously written from their perspective, two sides to a story,
Yeah,
but
I know, I'm being told, let's see, what, right, I mean, there's some legitimate stuff in there. So, I gotta look up the township.
Okay. I'm just kinda hitting the public comments here as far as.
Yeah, I know, it's, like I say, some of what we have is well, some of it is, yeah, it's good. But it's up to you guys whether you wanna continue with it, or let it ride as is for now, deal with it later, or,
we've done a lot of work to get to this point.
I know.
And I know there was some concerns brought up about the sound,
well, I brought that up myself before, I'd like to see a better example of how it's done.
Well, so what
Serious.
what's my understanding about what we've written is it's basically a speed limit. And it's very easy to enforce that. If you stay under it, you're good. The moment you go over it, there is no time monitoring, there is no metering measuring, it's just, if you're above that level at any point, you're breaking the ordinance. Which makes compliance, I would think, and enforcement a lot more simple than when you start to get into the other methods of measuring. We've heard it from both sides,
Yeah.
LMAX, LDBA, then you start to do the net metering, the monitoring, now you have to get an expert to even explain the words that they're trying to tell you.
That's right.
That's why I think we said LMAX, because it's simplified.
I understand the sound dosage and all that. When it gets into
It gets complicated.
the days worth, 2 days, 3 days worth of sound monitoring, that's different. Yeah.
So some other things they talked about tonight was setbacks. We're good with that. I mean, I know setbacks is a lot of different stuff that we have, and we have wetlands, we have property lines, we have non-Miss Bang, we have
Yeah, like,
lakes, what? Airport, yeah. I mean, I think we all talked through that as a group.
And we've left the, compromise with the waiver on property line setbacks, we've left that door open, so.
yeah, the other thing that was in that email I did not like was, using, the measurements for their setbacks or whatever from structures. I'd rather definitely stick with the property line.
I agree.
It doesn't allow for,
Again, simplifies the solution.
yeah,
Well, because, yeah, it's always up to interpretation. You start saying structure, well, now what's a structure? Well, this one's not being lived in. Well, I can throw a 2x2 shed over in this corner, call it a structure, and now you can't, so
or,
property lines
or
eliminate.
prevent somebody from wanting to add some
And most everything else in our zoning ordinance
Goes
is
from
measured
property
from a
line.
property line,
Property line,
not a
correct.
house.
The other thing was, major lakes, you live on a developed lake. It's small, you're kind of in a corner, so you're kind of up against two other townships
Three.
down there. Three.
Belvedere, Douglas, and Pine. Yeah, four corners, right there. I can throw a rock in every one.
But to claim that town line and Tamarack are the only major lakes in the township, I'd have to dispute that just because of development. Like on your lake. You gotta broaden that. It's gonna be broader.
And right now, we're protecting all lakes that are named and listed in our master land use plan, which makes sense.
And again, that could be a per case thing with special, use from, how would that work on permitting, let's say, that we're in an area that was not potentially gonna be developed. There are those instances.
I think with, like you said, the waiver options there, they can always apply, and we can look
Right,
at it and
okay.
go from there.
Right.
So,
That's a,
The other thing I think, was talked about tonight was the depth of,
cabling.
10 feet
Yeah.
versus 4 to 5 feet.
right,
And we do have a clause, if a property owner doesn't want a decommissioning, if a property owner doesn't want it removed, then they can sign off on that, correct?
We didn't say that they have to remove.
That's what I said, they don't have to remove it, just down to.
Yeah.
You cut it off, yeah.
Yeah, we had, so the main runs that are 10 feet deep, they're just gonna abandon it, but at where it comes up, 8 foot
Yeah,
was
'cause
our,
the concern is having to reclamate at that depth, it almost does more harm than good,
right,
so.
and the majority of it's bored or plowed, so it's not like they're open trenching 10 feet, so.
But we also, didn't we talk about that if somebody wanted to leave that platform? No?
We did, it was in the beginning, but last I remember, it was gonna be, take it out, and that's what I was just reading again.
Where you at, what section is it?
I'm on page 13.
Number 2.
Yes, to deed to the property.
We talked about a number of different ways.
the demolition depth, as far as, my opinion, was too deep. 5 foot would have been adequate. From what I've run into digging stuff. And I think we have electrical codes for underground wiring anyway,
There's a waiver for the, access roads, the removal of the access roads, the property owner can request in writing to maintain those upon decommissioning.
Okay, now there was something mentioned about the access roads having to be 300 feet from a property line?
Non-participating.
Non-participating.
Or a waiver
Or
sign.
sign waiver.
Sign and register.
Sign a waiver, okay.
Yeah, so it wouldn't include
That wouldn't-
property within the boundaries.
But on an agricultural piece of ground, that would not be a good thing. You end up with a road 10 acres out in
Right.
somebody's field,
Right.
But they could say to sign a waiver though if they wanted to.
if you get the neighbor to sign it,
And, yeah, like I said, it'd only be applicable to the parcels part of the project that are on the edge. It wouldn't apply to parcels within the project,
I
that they wouldn't be
understand
subject to that, yeah, so.
And then setbacks, 4 times, I mean, I think we settled on 16,
1640.
right, which would be 4,
40
6
feet.
Yeah, so it's pretty much the same, so.
Right. And then obviously we had in no case, a setback of at least 2.5 even for participant.
Not for participant, but
No.
that was a compromise that the participants, if you have 2 adjoining participating property, they can put them as close as
consent,
Yeah.
2.5, okay.
Anything else you'd like to talk about? I guess I'll just go around today, anything?
No.
I need to.
The only thing I have heard some things about the avian detection, or we don't have anything for, protection of birds, or even studies. I mean, I don't know where you even start with any of that.
Yeah, we do require a study, an environmental impact study that includes, but not limited to assessing the impact on wildlife, including birds specifically. That's on page 18.
That's normal in that
Yeah,
whole
that's,
process.
yes, that's pretty standard. As part of this, the special land use permit requirement, submission, they have to provide a study assessing any potential impacts to the natural environment, including but not limited to the impact on endangered species, eagles, birds, and or other wildlife, wetlands, and fragile ecosystems. I need to put a parentheses there. The study shall conform to state and federal wildlife agency recommendations based on local conditions. I think that was actually in your existing one.
Yeah, I think it was too. I think there's,
Are you thinking something else?
No, I just, like, so that's a great clause to put in there, but what does that actually mean for,
in,
Migratory birds?
I mean, what kind of enforcement, what kind of violation? I mean, if we have it in there, okay, so they do a study and they say there's some birds around, what do we do with that information?
You know, I had been thinking about that, it actually might be more of a concern if you have an actual farm with a bunch of shorter turbines though. Instead of just, ones, you know, I have to admit, I'm gonna say this for everybody, I'm probably one of those people who could get used to seeing something like that out there more than other people for some reason, I don't know why. But, the idea of something that big in the horizon is not, seems to bother me.
I mean, I guess we have that in there,
I know.
and it's under a safety clause, I'm just
Right.
curious, what kind of protection does that give for us, for any, I mean, there's always gonna be that concern. I mean, obviously, we've got bald eagles in the area, we've got lots of other birds, lots of owls, I mean, you can hear them at night, I mean, so we have that clause in there, what does that actually do for the birds?
Yeah, well, the point is that they have to provide information regarding what the impact is going to be on that, and the township can use, and this is probably something that would be most appropriate once you get to the special land use permit application process. The township can seek further information from either them or from other third parties to find out, you know, what is the true impact. And that could be a basis for either placing conditions on the approval process or
Okay, so that's
potentially
where we could
denying an
add certain
application. Yes.
parameters, okay, so you can build it here, but you have to do this because of the study says.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
That's what
Yep,
my
it allows,
curiosity
it
was.
gives you the information to make a decision as to whether you wanna condition, you know,
Okay.
condition the application. The reason why I wouldn't put something specific in the actual requirement section is because then it gives you the flexibility, and it may depend on what the application is asking for, what the
Okay.
impact is going to be.
That,
So
that's,
we
I
put
guess,
the list-
was my question
Yeah.
about what does that clause actually do, but if it's in that part of the process further on, then it does leave it
Right,
per the study, okay, so
hopefully that
I'm good with that.
clarifies your question.
Anything else on it? No?
That was my only, what I had to bring up.
All I can do is have a study. Can't do that.
So, I guess without further ado, we would need a motion, correct?
Yep, so as long as there's no other changes, the three I have were, well, four, I think there are a couple of minor grammatical changes I don't think anyone had any issues with, and then, adding the language to the, bodies of water setback to clarify that it's measured from the high water mark, and those are changes I can make, before we send it off to the planning commission for the county, but, you guys all have a copy of a resolution which, goes through, you know, the process that we've gone through, that we held a duly noticed public hearing, and this would memorialize the planning commission's recommendation, of approval of the ordinance with these minor amendments that we discussed tonight, to the township board. So we would need, a motion to, approve the resolution as it's worded by recommending approval of the ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance regarding wind energy conversion systems to the township board. And then a second and probably a roll call vote on that.
Alright. So, I guess, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to submit the drafted wind ordinance as written.
I'll second it.
I would say, just to clarify the motion, adopt the resolution
Adopt it.
recommending
Make a motion to
approval.
adopt the
Yeah.
drafted resolution.
Okay,
With the changes that
With
you're
the
gonna
changes.
make.
yes, yes, the minor changes we discussed.
Joe seconded that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Dave? Randy?
Yes.
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 And I say yes also.
So then I'll just have Randy at the meeting, I'll have you sign the resolution and then we'll attach that when we send it.
So,
Oh. I think, so what I was hoping, maybe you, Dave, I feel like in other townships, they've had, like in Pine in particular, had so they were gonna send this on to the county planning commission like tomorrow.
Yep.
Because they've got a 30-day window.
Yep.
And that would mean that by the July 11th board meeting, they could vote on it. I guess I would make a motion that we, as a planning commission, request that there be a joint session as part of their agenda at that meeting with Leslie there, so that we can explain any questions that they have, and why we have come up with what we've come up with, because, they haven't necessarily been through all of this work that we've done. Is that, I guess,
Sure, yeah, you can make that motion, obviously it's up to the board to make that decision, and then we'll have to make sure it's properly noticed. If there's gonna be a quorum of the planning commission at that meeting, it'll have to be noticed as a joint meeting of the planning commission and the township board. You can do it like Pine did, where they literally held the entire meeting jointly, or you could do it, where it's a regular meeting of the township board, but the board can, at the time of the meeting where they discuss the wind ordinance, can bring out the planning commissioners and, have just a discussion with the board about what the, process was you went through, and address any questions that the board may have for the planning commissioners about the ordinance that we went through.
I guess I would like to see it that way instead of. just
yeah, but we shouldn't interrupt their regular business, but be present
Be on their
for.
agenda to be able to
Yep,
and
answer.
and you can do it that way. You'll still have to make sure that it's noticed out as a meeting of the planning commission as well, just because we'll have 5 members there, or
Yes.
potentially a majority, I assume, Dave's gonna be there already. But, yeah, that would be fine.
How many days does that have to be noticed?
It's just, an 18-hour notice under the Open Meetings Act, yeah, so you don't have to, and it just needs to be posted, you don't need to publish it or anything, it's just a notice for, essentially, it's gonna be a special meeting of the planning commission in joint with the regular meeting of the board,
So we just post it out on the door,
Yeah.
put it on the website.
put it on the website.
And we'll be all
so
set.
did you just say it's a regular meeting of the planning commission too?
Yep, it'll be a regular meeting of the planning commission, special meeting of the planning commission, because it's not your regularly scheduled meeting. But it'll be considered a joint meeting of both.
But it will be considered joint.
Yeah, yes, because you'll be
You
there,
would tag it
yeah,
as a joint.
right.
Because we have that one.
Yeah, because you'll have a quorum.
Okay, so this motion, I make a motion that we, request that the board allow us to have, a special joint meeting at their next regular meeting in July, to give us as a commission the ability to discuss and answer questions with Because I-
Long-winded,
what
but I
just
get
said.
it.
I'll second that motion. You wanna repeat it?
No, I'm not repeating.
We have a motion, we have a second, discussion, any further discussion? So, Dave, that would be something that you would take to your, yep, and by then I believe we would have any comments or recommendations from the county planning commission back,
We have a
should
month.
have.
Yes, so what I'll do is tomorrow, we will send a copy of the executed resolution and the final ordinance off to the county. They technically get 30 days to review it, which would give us just
Plenty
enough time before the July 11th meeting. If we get comments before then, fantastic, we can still do the meeting on the 11th, but, we do have to give them 30 days.
Okay.
You're gonna send that to the county?
Yes.
Okay. Did we vote?
No, we didn't, no, we're just talking, discussion.
Any other discussion? And you're available on July 11th?
Yes.
Because we would love to have you there. for
Yes, it's my
reference.
understanding the
Good
board
deal.
was gonna discuss that at the June meeting, and they, just let me know if they've approved me to be at that meeting.
We'd ask that they would approve that, I think. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carried.
Like 4 yeas, 1 nay.
Next is our zoning forms on the website. Randy?
Yeah, we don't, so we have 3 new zoning forms that Leslie had provided templates for us. We wanna get those posted to the website under the planning commission tab. I did, as I was flipping through those, there was maybe a couple things we might wanna tweak, like it does say like provide 20 copies to the
Oh,
ZBA.
okay. Yep.
So I wanted to, I guess, I'll go through it, and that was the one that sticks out. There could be maybe something, maybe we could add something about like the process, so, you know, somebody gets that form and then they're gonna call Phil and be like, what do I do with this, cause your name and number show up on the website, so, I guess maybe I can